All right, folks, we're back. This time we're working on the 1971 C10 in Spanish gold. I got a few things to show you with this today. I finally decided it's time to get started on the exhaust. You know how excited I am about that. But more importantly, when we do exhaust on that truck, and I'm starting it, I'll show you how I got that going. I know I've started a few times, but we're going to work right along now. We have to worry about some heat management, and that's what I've got in front of me here, and I want to show you some ideas, some options. If you run into some close quarters, some place where exhaust is closer to a wire than you like, maybe you're, I said a wire, what else? Brake line, I don't know. Maybe the floor pan, there's some options of what you do. Starters are classic too. So right here in front of me, we're going to show you some options. This is what I come up with. So let me get you turned down here where you can see a little something. I bought a few different items. All right, here we are. Exhaust is probably your biggest issue when it comes to heat. There's a lot of heat. The more you run it, the hotter you run it, the hotter it gets. Exhaust, you've probably touched one somewhere along the way. It's hot. Stop and go traffic is probably my biggest worry. When you're just idling around someplace, you get a lot of heat just kind of comes up on the vehicle. I'm working on a truck, obviously. But think of it this way. It's like a frying pan above the stove. That heat underneath that pan, like a floor pan, no pun intended, or all pun intended, I guess. That heat underneath that pan is how it gets hot and boils water and different things. Well, when you have exhaust underneath your truck, it's virtually the same thing. Now, when you're driving, there's a lot of air and movement under there, and it's going to cool it down and keep it from heating up that pan or whatever you got close to it. But think of the frying pan. I mean, that's a lot of heat under there. So obviously there's header wrap. I'm going to come around to this side, it'd be easier for me. And the header wrap comes in different colors, different shapes, different sizes. Okay, so I buy my header wrap generally 2-inch. That way you can overlap a 1/2 inch or something and not have trouble like this one. You get a 1-inch, it's fine in tight spots. But when you start to overlap it, it gets pretty thick and it wants to slide off. Get a lot better coverage with a 2-inch, you get a better overlap. I prefer it, but I have both in case I need it. There's some tight places, you get in between on some headers or different things, you need the smaller stuff. This, I think, is just a different color, I don't remember. Now, a header wrap, if you want to talk about that real quick, it's made with fiberglass and crushed, what is it? Oh, lava rock, I think they put in it. But you can't get asbestos anymore. You wouldn't want it anyway. So there's header wraps. On the floor pan, there's this kill mat, or you can get different kinds. It's a kind of a butyl rubber. It can be sticky when it gets warm. And it has that reflective, heat reflective covering on it. Next, I have here something I think is really cool. This stuff is silicone coated, but it has that fiberglass fabric on the inside. Good stuff. This is for like brake lines, or if you got some wires in a spot that's going to perhaps touch an exhaust occasionally. This stuff is fantastic for wires. As you see, it looks quite big, but you ain't getting much in the hole, so you just got to size it right. A brake line, the fitting would just go through this. It works quite well for that. Then today I'm using this. This is just another type of wrap. It's a foil on the outside instead of the silicone. And the foil works really good too. It has that same lining. The reason I got this stuff out to show you today, oh, there's one more option. You can always use, this is kind of heavy, a thin piece of sheet metal and just put between the exhaust and whatever you're trying to keep cool. Believe it or not, there's enough heat sink, even in a piece of tin, that radiant heat won't get to your wires and stuff with just a piece of thin sheet metal. That works a lot of times. That's what they have around starters a lot. I prefer something with a little more insulation. So I'll show you what we use that for today because I'm working on that exhaust. I have to be concerned with it. As I come around with the exhaust, matter of fact, we'll go to the exhaust and we'll come back to the heat shrinks. Heat shrink? No, heat covering. So you've seen this before, but let me get you down a little closer. This is where my exhaust comes out from behind the cab. This is just to show me the box level. So I'll get that out of the way. And what I got over here, and in a second, I'll show you how this works. But I've got this exhaust that comes out, and then I'm going to have a crossover. It's going to go over the top of this drag link and then go towards the back. And I got to looking at all this stuff, and I come across a problem with my brake line. I'll move you back there so you can see my brake line. I'll go around this way. Yeah, you can't see nothing. It's always that way. I ain't got the box on the truck and you still can't see anything. But we're going to show you anyway. Right down in here is where my exhaust is coming through. Matter of fact, I'll grab a plate. So as that exhaust comes through, and it's going to be the smaller pipe because this is post muffler. I'm running the 2.5, I believe it is. Yeah, 2.5 up to my cutouts. And then I'm changing over to the 1 and I believe it's 3/4 for the rest of the way. It's a smaller pipe, helps me fish it through places better. So when it comes through, the muffler sits here. When this pipe comes through here and I have to cross over the top of my rear axle, there's a lot going on in this little spot right here. I'll get you in just a touch closer. And I don't know how they did it. I guess they had single exhaust on most of these, but here's what we're dealing with. I got brake lines, I got a shock absorber, I got differential breather, I got my drag links, and I got my sway bars. I got all that stuff down here. So when this pipe comes through, I'm going to have to, it's a top exhaust out of the muffler, the outlet. And it's going to come through high and tight to this pipe. Then it has to come up and go over so I have a loop for the differential. But what I'm trying to show you today is this comes right in here. And I've got to find a good spot to get in here, not burn this stuff. So here's my metal brake lines, but the rubber one's right here. And this rubber line, although it's not going to touch it, I'm concerned with going up and down it when you get the travel going, hitting bumps. It might contact this pipe. So I've covered it with that tubing to keep the heat away from it. Probably not necessary. Better safe than sorry. I don't want somebody to have to deal with that, burning that new hose. So even if I come in here, as you maybe you can see, and I come in and I'm really close to it, I don't have to worry about the heat getting to that pipe. Sorry, the pipe heat getting to that tubing. So there's a little heat management for you. Now quickly I'll run you over here to the exhaust that I'm working on. About drop that. Here's the mufflers I'm using. I think you've seen these. But the muffler's going to come right up in here. So as you see, I'm up close to this cross member. It's going to work. I'm just slower than most. I'm not a muffler guy, but when I get done with this, I think I will be. Just because you do mufflers don't make you a muffler man. So, taking you back up. This is what I'm currently working on, fighting on, trying to fight on. Remember, I got all these parts and pieces. And I've turned them into smaller parts and pieces, as you see. Well, I'm working on that loop. So this is the part that comes out of underneath the cab, and then I have to cross over, loop over the top of that drag links. So I've got it cut and marked with the 3 white marks there. I just got to put a couple tacks on this, slide it back in, make my next measurement, slide it back out, cut it. It's just a lot of in and out, cut it, mark it, weld it, put it back in, take it back out. It's super time consuming. But that's what I'm doing, and that's what's been going on out here. Hey, you can still see my fuel system over here. Yep, it's not in yet. I got confused. I don't know how to do it. What order do you do it in? I need to put the fuel system in on the frame before the exhaust. So that's fine, I should do that, right? Well, I don't know where I want to put my lines and tubing. Of course, I could buy more of that protectant stuff. It's kind of expensive. It's only for when it's necessary. So if I put the fuel system in, I don't know where my exhaust is at. I might have to redo part of my fuel system because it's too close to the exhaust. So I'm going to get the exhaust in, and then I'm going to kind of take a picture, see where the exhaust goes. Then I'll put my fuel system in and route everything. Then I'll put the exhaust back in. This stuff is just, this is a little bit of back and forth kind of thing. It's kind of frustrating, but I'm going to fight my way through it and show you guys the trouble I run into. But that's all so far. quick video on that. Just thought I'd give you something to check out and see where the vehicle's at today. This is what we're working on. So I'm gonna slip that pipe back in there. I actually gotta weld it first, but then I done the exhaust. I'm gonna cut it short today. That's all we're gonna work on. I wanna focus on this. And then the next video, I'll come back maybe midweek, not make you wait so long. We'll see how it goes. And show you how I got around these drag bars, drag links through there. Maybe have a muffler in here. I don't know how far I'll get, but now you know what I'm working on. I appreciate you stopping in and checking out the quick video. I'll post more. Thanks for stopping. And how many times am I going to push this button? I think this will turn it off one time. Let's see.